Good evening. My name is James Little from Mass Spec Interpretation Services, and I'd like to present a video to you about data processing using the Thermo Freestyle software with the NIST MSMS search for compound identifications. And a critical part of that is setting up the parameters in both Freestyle and the NIST search program to facilitate the search. I've written another document about it that I can find on my web page, and also I'll include in the handout is typical settings for the NIST 23 Search 3.0 in tandem mode, and it's about several pages, but there are screenshots that will show you many of the things I'll show you in the video, but you can go back and reference to set up your system properly and to understand what functionality can be found in the NIST search. So we got to the point before where I showed you how to process data and bring in what I would call the preferred approach. And right now you can see that I have the MSMS spectrum of this uvenol. It's a molecular weight 214 compound. This is an M-H. And what I need to do is send this to the MS search so I can set up the parameters on the other side. Before you do that, I need to point out one other thing. Again, you cannot average the spectrum when you're trying to send things to the NIST search because it'll end up cropping off the significant figures here. So you just need to click on one spot in the spectrum to decide if it's a good spectrum or not. You can do it. I'm just left clicking across it to check and see if it's the same all the way through. So I'll just pick it right here in the center. Before you do that, you have to tell Freestyle to send over all the significant figures. And the only way to do that is to select this MSMS spectrum. I'm left clicking on the title bar. And now you'll see that these library icons come into focus. And this is under workspace processing here. And you have to do a library search within Freestyle to get it set up. And so you click on that, even though you're not really going to do a library search, you tell it to do the NIST search internally. And since the libraries are over here, you really don't get any results. But what we need to do is come over here to the search type and tell it that it's MSMS. And when you do that, then the number of significant figures imported into the NIST search will be correct. So you have to also go down here and say, make the default in the program and apply. And then we don't need to have the search window in focus because it really didn't do anything, so I just made it go away. Now we can again select the spectrum, go up to export, in this case, to the NIST search. This will actually send it over to the NIST search. So click on that. You can see it brought it over. You'll notice it brought over this unknown, which is actually uvenol, and it has a precursor ion. It brings over the precursor 213.0554. But more importantly, it also brings over all the accurate masses for all the ions. Now they're not, they've got 4 places to the right of the decimal. The other thing you have to do about the NIST search is to set up the import options for it. So we're coming up here to the top menu and setting up options, and we go to spectrum import options. And we need to make sure that's in accurate mass mode here with this radio button, and we want 4 decimal places to the right of the decimal for all the values that it imports, and just say OK. So it'll save that. We'll just go back and import it one more time just to make sure it's working properly. So export to NIST again, going up to the top after I selected the bar. If you don't select the bar, it doesn't bring these icons into focus. So export to NIST, and it brought it in and searched it. So if you go into the NIST search, we need to save some parameters here to make sure they're correct. They're already saved for me, but I'll walk through a couple of them. You can go over here in File, and you say Select Spectrum Type. This is new in the 2023 software, and some of the original NIST search programs won't have this, but they tried to simplify it by telling it what type of search you wanted to do, so it didn't show you everything on every menu. So you need to have tandem selected and say OK. You need to go up here to the icon here where it says Library Search Options. and we'll look at the type search. We'll start out with the MSMS type search where it specifies only components that have the correct precursor ion within a certain window, and that'll be our default for now. There are other type searches, and we'll talk about them later. You need to set the precursor at 10, and these values here should be set properly. The libraries would be high resolution, which actually brings in two high resolution libraries, even though you specify one. Does a low resolution library in the APCI. You could also add your own libraries or other ones by other manufacturers, but these are the ones that are come with the NIST 2023 software. So that looks good. The automation looks good. The limits, everything looks good here. There's nothing else to change. So that looks like everything's set up properly there. So we'll say OK. The one other thing is you might need to set up the libraries for structure search too, because the libraries for structural searches where you search by structure can be specified different than the ones that you search by spectrum. But I usually keep them both set the same. Say OK. So that looks good. We'll go up here. You need to have this off, best matching only. That gets rid of duplicates with the same CAS number. Sometimes it's good to see different ones with the same CAS number just to make sure that your spectrum matches the generic type ones and there are not other ones that might tell you something about the fragmentation pattern that you might expect at different energies. So I leave that on. So if it's pressed like that, it'll get rid of the duplicates. The other thing is this filter option here. This is enabled filtering to enable certain functions, whether you want to only see positive, you want to see negative. But this is applied after the search is performed, not before. So usually I turn it off initially, and then I'll apply it as I look at the spectra if I think other things need to be done. But that's pretty much all the parameters you need to save. And just like when we did in Freestyle, when we kept a user configuration, it's good to create one here also. So I'll say save configuration, and I'll overwrite this JLMSMS.ini and say save, and it'll say yes. And now all those parameters I put in will be saved. So if I somehow might have messed them up on processing thing, I can always go say file, restore configuration, and restore the JLMSMS. So it's always good to have a standard configuration set. So you're pretty much ready to go now. We'll go discuss the actual search results you get and the different types of searches in a different video. But I hope this will be helpful in getting the things set correctly. So if you don't get them set correctly initially, you cannot get good results. So take a look at the video, take a look at the handout that goes along with it. And I think you'll be a long way down the road in getting the settings set up correctly and understanding how the search works. Thanks for your time. Be sure to look at some of the other videos. Good day.